Welcome to the Calder Farmstead.
Now the Ice Hawks back out to center in transition. Carlson with Quenneville 2-on-1. Right with Carlson, Quenneville scores!
Here's a chance for Derek. He scores! Off the face-off! Up it's Heminger. Pulled back to Werenski. Has it. Shoots one. Bounces off a man. 5 seconds left. Werenski. Another jam on the shot. Turning and firing. They score! Scores! They score! Now they catch each other and they both go right over the top. Matching rights to one another. McNiven gets the helmet off of Cassie.
And now, with 9 minutes gone in overtime, the Bears breaking out right side with Bear. Looks like cutting to the net. Bear will score!
And here are your hosts, Cece and Sean.
Hello and greetings from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado.
And Norwich University.
Welcome to the Calder Farmstead Podcast, episode number 58 for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. If you were hoping for a podcast featuring a pricing guide to tractor attachments, we are not going to be much help. This is an American Hockey League podcast. My name is CC Hockley, the AHL editor, of Full Press Hockey.
And I'm Sean O'Brien from Stats Track and the AHL's only league-wide analytics guy.
And from the bottom of both of our hearts, always, we thank you for tuning in.
And if you're new to hear CC and I talk about hockey, we're going to recap some of the matchups in the past weekend for you. We both watch a lot of AHL games. We're going to talk about what we see when we watch the film, as well as use some advanced stats to help us break it down. If that's new to you, you might want to head over to our podcast feed or YouTube channel, wherever you're checking us out from today, and go back and check out episode 0. It's a short primer on some of the stats we're going to be talking about, as well as how we view what's important on the ice. So if you're new to some of the more advanced hockey stats terms like PDO or the point shares model, or newer hockey terms like controlled zone entries, go check that out. So you better be able to pick up what we're putting down. I promise it's not that nerdy or technical. It's only 20 minutes. And let's be honest, you wasted 20 minutes today reading about the Manning cast curse. You'll never get that time back. So why not spend a little more time next time with us talking hockey?
I saw that trending, but I didn't really look into it. Did you?
You know what? I wasted enough time on that today.
So you were one of those that wasted those 20 minutes looking at the Manning cast curse. That's fine. That's fine. I don't cast any judgment whatsoever. Well, first and foremost, we felt like this got kind of swept under the rug with, all of the NHL news going on. And we definitely needed to give a little attention to what occurred last week, which was 4 announcements for the 2022 AHL Hall of Fame class. And those 4 guys coming in are Keith Aucoin, Nolan Baumgardner, Dave Crichton, and Bill Torrey. And we're going to talk a little bit about each one of those guys real quick. Sean, take it away with Keith Aucoin.
Keith Aucoin broke into the AHL with his hometown Lowell Lock Monsters in 01-02. He went on to record 857 points in 769 games over parts of 13 AHL seasons with Lowell, Providence, Cincinnati, Albany, Hershey, Toronto, and Chicago, retiring as the 7th leading scorer in league history. Calder Cup with Hershey in 2009 and 2010, was the MVP and scoring champion for the 2009-10 season, tallying 106 points in 70 games. He played in a record-tying 6 AHL All-Star Classics. I remember him in Hershey the most, but he was pretty much a point-a-game or better player wherever he went. Very good playmaker, very small guy. I think he's like 5'8", 170. He's literally smaller than me. But much better at hockey, which that's why he's here. And I have a podcast instead.
And on the last team to repeat as AHL champion back in 2009, 2010.
Yeah, we're probably not going to see one of those for a while.
Probably not with the turnover of talent and prospects in this game's day and age. Next up, Nolan Baumgardner. He spent the majority of his 16-year professional playing career in the AHL, appearing in 878 games and notching 83 goals and 307 assists for 390 points with Portland, Norfolk when they were in the AHL, the Manitoba Moose, Philadelphia Phantoms, Iowa Stars, and the Chicago Wolves. Yeah, those stats don't scream playmaker at all, do they? He appeared in 3 AHL All-Star Classics and was selected as the All-Star Classic captain at the 2010 event. Also accrued 29 points in 86 postseason games, which included an appearance in the Calder Cup Finals with Manitoba in 2009. He was a first-round draft pick by the Washington Capitals in 1994, served as an assistant coach for Vancouver's AHL affiliates in Chicago and Utica for 5 seasons before being promoted to the parent club in 2017.
Yep. Next, we're going to talk about, I believe it's Dave Crichton. Is that how you say it?
Crichton? Not sure.
I'm not positive. I did not see him play. Prolific American Hockey League scorer during the 50s and 60s, almost 30 years before I was born. Dave played 21 professional seasons between 1948 and 1969, becoming one of only 4 players in hockey history to skate in at least 600 games in both the A and the show. Tied for 25th all-time in AHL scoring with 692 points in 800 contests over parts of 14 seasons with Hershey, Rochester, Buffalo, Baltimore, and Providence, but not the Bruins, the Reds. He also served 4 seasons as head coach of the Reds, including 3 as the ever-elusive player coach, another thing that will probably never happen in the league again, and won the Les Cunningham Award as the AHL's MVP in 1967-68. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017 at the age of 87.
Our last and unfortunately second posthumous induction to the AHL Hall of Fame is Bill Torrey. He's also a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. He began his front office hockey career as the publicity director for the American Hockey League's Pittsburgh Hornets. Yeah, we all remember them back in 1961. Absolutely. He remained active with the AHL throughout his illustrious career as an NHL executive, which included 4 straight Stanley Cup champions as general manager of the New York Islanders and 25 years of service with the Florida Panthers. A trusted advisor and mentor, Torrey served on the executive committee of the AHL Board of Governors for 2 decades and was a member of the AHL Hall of Fame selection committee from its inception in 2006. Again, second posthumous guy here in the AHL inductions. He passed away in 2018 at the age of 83. Gosh, 87 and 83. Those are pretty good full lives. So definitely not. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I didn't even know that Bill Torrey was really involved with the AHL. I just remember him as the GM of the Islanders dynasty. Like,
sure.
I'm not as up to date as some of the youths with, who their board of governors guy is. So didn't know that at all. But yeah, that's clearly a worthy entry into the AHL Hall of Fame, which actually, as I also learned, isn't a real place. It is housed online, at least for now. I'd like to think that at some point they get like a place for it. That seems like that would be appropriate.
Where do you think a good location would be? I mean obviously
I would say Springfield. The league offices are there. Maybe have part of the like Thunderbirds area include it, or like next door or something. I wouldn't know for sure. Or maybe like the NHL a couple years ago did this like traveling exhibit of hockey history thing. It was like I don't want to call it a trailer because it was much nicer than that, but it was bigger too, but it was like a mobile exhibit. I think something like that goes to like the All-Star game, the Calder Cup final, something like that could be interesting, where it has like its own miniature Hall of Fame in there and something like that. Especially because since they've only started in 2006, it's not like they need, a ton of space for the plaques and stuff like that, because well, there aren't that many.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully one day we get a brick and mortar AHL Hall of Fame, but in the meantime, you can always look online. So congrats to those 4, or at least those 2, and the families of the other 2 for those inductions into the AHL Hall of Fame. Probably if he continues coaching at a high level, an AHL Hall of Fame guy in the distant future, Manny Viveros. Man, we were not prepared to get the news on the day that we recorded our last episode that he was returning to the bench for the Henderson Silver Knights. And conjecture and everything, we didn't want to jump to any conclusions, but the man revealed to Henderson's media director and broadcaster Brian McCormick that he's got prostate cancer and he is going to be having surgery in December. Until then, he's doing what all of us normal people would do and coach an AHL hockey team. And good God, Sean, I mean, the man's got a set on him and a pair that's just he's got to haul it around in a wheelbarrow.
I mean, I would say for me, like I couldn't even imagine what that would be like. And, to be returning to the bench, not only that quickly, but also knowing, again, you're going to go for surgery in December. And then, I mean, I have no idea what kind of surgery that's looking like or the timetable to recover, but I'm sure that he will be pressing to coach again before the end of the season, because, I mean, season ends in what, like April? Yeah, April, first, second week of April. So, like, it's not impossible, at least in my mind, that he could recover from this surgery in time and, finish out the last couple games or whatever behind Henderson on the bench. If they make the playoffs, he could maybe even do more. I don't know. But, like, I don't know how you put that in the back of your mind as you're, breaking down film and writing practice plans and, talking to your assistant coaches and stuff like that. I wouldn't be on my couch eating buffalo wings, watching, reruns of MASH, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's a lot of physical and mental fortitude right there. So congrats to Coach Viveros for coming back and making that, I guess you could say, commitment. I mean, he could have just been like, I'm good for the season. I'm going to focus on my health.
Yeah, no one would have blamed him.
No, absolutely not. So for him to come back, I mean, that's a true, I mean, you tend to know yourself the best when it comes to your health and everything. So I hope that that's the case and he's not just being stubborn here, but that's his choice to make.
Yeah. And I mean, he even said so himself that, like, they caught this on a routine blood test during camp physicals for the Golden Knights, that, like, he would have never, gotten checked or anything like that. Said he's like, I'm in, like, perfect health for, I think he's 55.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm in perfect health for a guy my age. Like, I eat well, I work out all the time, like, felt fine. And all of a sudden I get one blood test result that was weird, a couple of more tests. And, we're finding out that, we need biopsies and stuff. Like, yeah, that's, November is, Hockey Fights Cancer Month. So if you are available to, go get tested for, some routine blood test stuff. Manny Vivros just probably had his life saved from it. So think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the timing of that could not have worked out any better for awareness sake, for sure.
I mean, also for his sake, if they don't, catch him then, like, from what it sounds like, he's, his prognosis is at least optimistic. So.
Right. Yeah. I figured that was a given. I figured it's like, okay, you get a checkup at least once a year, at least especially when you're in your 50s, you go and get your annual prostate check and things like that. So, but the fact that, they did a blood test in camp and caught it a little sooner, probably very beneficial. So.
Well, let's get to some recaps here because we can't be talking about Manny Vivros' prostate the whole show. That would be weird. So, Cece, you have decided to keep track of our weekly pick'ems. How did we do on our first go round here?
Well, I started on Sunday and there was a few Sunday games to play, and I'm like, oh, this is really close. I mean, we were neck and neck pretty much the whole time. We were going back and forth. So without any further ado or drama, Sean, you went 16 out of 31 for a 51.6% success rate. And me, I was a little below that. In fact, just one pick below that, 15 of 31 for a 48.4% success rate for my picks. So, Sean, you win the week. And I'll be keeping
random chance.
I mean, we gave our best educated guesses. I mean, me picking Laval to sweep Rochester was a bit of a ding on my part because
we will get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, a little foreshadowing for sure. But I will be keeping track week upon week, weekend upon weekend rather, and I'll be keeping track of the overall percentage as well. And maybe we'll do something for the end of the season too. So we shall see. We shall see. All right. We've got our introduction done. We covered the news that we needed to cover. And now it's time to recap the weekend. And first and foremost, Sean, we had 3 winless teams going into the weekend, and now we have only one. And that one is the team that we covered first in our weekend preview, and we will cover first in our weekend recap, of course. They played Utica in Utica on Friday at 7 p.m., and then they played Syracuse at home in Allentown, Pennsylvania on Saturday at 7:05 p.m. We are talking about the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and they have yet to get a scribble in the win column this year. So, Sean, what happened? Tell me what's going on with the Phantoms.
So real quick, let's recap the goals that got scored this weekend. Friday, to break the ice there, Tyler Waterspoon forgets what side he's playing for and fails to tie up Garmin Rubsov off the faceoff. He goes to the net. Linus Hogberg gives him a nice low hard shot, and he obliges with a sweet tip. 1-0 Phantoms. A few weird bounces in the neutral zone. Zamula skyhooks one from his blue line to the Utica blue line. Rubsov recovers, feathers a pass between both Colton White and Jasper Boquist to Hayden Hodgson, who uses good body position to fight off Riley Walsh and redirect it 5-hole. 2-0 Phantoms. They're off to a good start here. Then Zamula gets caught pinching deep. Bunneman covered from at the blue line, but not being a defenseman, didn't scan to see Nate Schnarr streaking through the neutral zone behind him. Zamula can't catch up in time. Greer hits him with the stretch pass, and Schnarr buries his breakaway attempt with a nice snipe over Ershon's glove. Utica ties it off a 3-on-2 rush that had 2 back checkers in O'Reilly and Mayhew hustling back into the play to force a kind of weak shot from the outside by Chase DeLeo, but Ershon doesn't practice good rebound control and kicks the rebound right out into the slots, where Alexander Holtz beats Clendenning to it and buries it. A Wyatt Wiley stretch pass gets broken up in the neutral zone, and the Comets regroup with Hodachuk taking a shot from the outside below the dots, but catches Ershon napping on his post and scores low short side underneath the blocker. A heavy amount of offensive pressure and quite a few scoring chances. Adam Clendenning makes a risky pinch at the end of his shift down by 1. It doesn't work for him. Holtz and DeLeo go the other way, 2-on-1. DeLeo slips a pass through, and Alexander Holtz fires a laser beam over Ershon's glove, 4-2 Comets. Zetterlund hits the empty net to close it out, 5-2 for Utica. On
Frickin'
Saturday,
sorry.
laser beam.
Frickin' laser
Saturday,
beams.
On Saturday, Garrett Wilson catches a pass from Morgan Frost at the right side of the net. He pivots and tries to tuck it 5-hole. Amir Miftakov for Syracuse makes the stop but can't control the rebound. A mad scramble ensues, and somehow Gary Mayhew finds it and whacks it home, and the Phantoms take a 1-0 lead with a de facto power play goal, as I don't even think Gabe Fortier's penalty expired more than half a second before the puck crossed the line. So not a power play goal, but not a power play goal. Syracuse on the power play executes the double drop entry to perfection, and Simon Riforsch exploits a huge gap given to him by Igor Zamula, walks down the hash mark before he loses the puck on a deke attempt, but the Phantoms don't get to the loose puck. Charles Udon picks it up and rips it from, right at the hash mark, slow glove side, beats Sandstrom. Morgan Frost takes a pass in the neutral zone, gets an even 2-on-2 rush going with Mayhew. Frost gains the zone, cuts hard from right to left at the tops of the circles. Mayhew speeds in front of him, which creates space between Frost and crunch defenseman Jesse Lees. Frost uses him to partially screen Miftakov and snipes it low with a wicked release. Phantoms up 2-1, 14:51 left in the second. Off the faceoff, Sean Day fires a wrister that gets blocked in traffic, but Gabriel Dumont scoops up the rebound in the slot, turns and rifles it over Sandstrom's blocker to tie the game at 2 with 15:33 left in the third. We head to overtime. In the overtime, the Crunch catch the Phantoms on a bad line change by Forrester and York that allows an easy zone entry for Fortier, who drives the center lane against Morgan Frost, trying to play defense, kicks it to Ryan Jones at the top of the circle. Ryan Jones walks in, looks past, and then fires a shot that Sandstrom gets a pad on, but the rebound goes up in the air, and Jimmy Huntington is all alone in the front by Zamula, and he bats it out of the air past the sprawling Sandstrom to call game. Those were your goals from the Lehigh Valley Phantoms weekend. CC, remind me who we chose in these games to win here.
Well, I chose Lehigh Valley on Friday, Syracuse on Saturday. Sean, you were of the opinion as well that the Phantoms had to pull out one of those. But you said that Utica was going to take Friday and the Phantoms were going to find a way to defeat the Crunch on Saturday in front of their home crowd. The model was favorable against Utica, against the Phantoms rather. They had Utica 59% favorite on Friday and Syracuse a 56% favorite on Saturday. And
the model got it right.
The computer wins. Yes, the model did get it right.
The computer got it right.
The computer got it right. So let's talk about the games a little bit more of the minutia of Friday and Saturday's matchups. What did you see at a team level from the Phantoms of the Valley this past weekend?
Sloppy game for both teams on Friday. A lot of bobbled passes and bad execution. Pucks just falling off guys' sticks without pressure. Flubbing shot attempts. Losing an edge skating, including Comets goalie Nico Dawes at one point. Lost an edge trying to make a save. That was a weird look. But Lehigh Valley in the game were sloppy in ways that weren't as painful. They missed passes through the neutral zone that get recovered in the Utica Comets defensive zone. They mishandle pucks in the offensive zone. So like they're making sloppy plays, but they're doing it far away from their net. Whereas Utica was sloppier in their own end in the neutral zone, which is much more dangerous. Saw a lot of bad rebound control from Nico Dawes. He also missed a clearing attempt from the defensive zone, and that allowed Lehigh Valley to control a lot more of the zone time through the first two periods. They had multiple scoring chances in the third that just bounced off their stick or missed the net. But the Phantoms looked for the most of Friday like the better team, even though it was a little sloppy all around. Saturday, the Crunch just raced through the neutral zone. The Phantoms forecheck did basically nothing to slow them down. They didn't defend the middle passing lanes at all, and the Crunch just hit these cross-ice passes in the neutral zone with ease, just walking into the offensive zone afterward because all the Phantoms are collapsing puck side, but they're not getting sticks in those lanes. So you shoot it across the ice, boom, that guy is basically wide open and now gets to walk into the zone because the defender can't pressure him. They finally made some adjustments in the third period to slow down the Crunch a bit, but for 2+ periods, they're getting torched to the neutral zone. And that speed difference between the Crunch forwards and the Phantom defensemen was very evident as a handful of times they just walked defensemen wide on zone entries and were turning corners and driving to the net. The Phantoms were creating offense, but a lot of it in that Saturday game was off the rush or one-off kind of shots. They aren't sustaining pressure like Syracuse has been because they're not winning battles for pucks or rebounds winning battles for rebounds to sustain that attack. Sustain that zone pressure. And that was one of our keys to the weekend for them, was they needed to improve on that. And while it was a little better on Friday, it was not existent on Saturday. I shouldn't say non-existent. They had some sustained offensive attack at the end of the third, but that was really the first time all game. But a lot of the Saturday game, you could see that speed difference from Syracuse, the lack of their Lehigh Valley Phantoms forechecking just really did not put them in good spots throughout the entire game.
Gotcha. Well, shifting gears a little bit here, we talked about special teams for the Phantoms at length in the preview. Tell me, Sean, how was the power play this weekend for Lehigh Valley?
I thought it took steps forward, although not big ones. Baby steps, like I said, they scored a de facto power play goal. You saw the double drop zone entry play get used more. It was sloppy. The initial puck carrier didn't seem to understand that he has to push that first forechecker deep into the neutral zone and was making the drop pass at like the top of the circles. That they used that zone entry play a couple of times. It was working, but it was not pretty. Saturday, that went away completely as they went back to using the center lane option play, and predictably, as it's gone for most of the season, it went poorly. Whatever zone entries, I will say they ultimately do decide to run on the power play. They need to stop letting Adam Clendenning be the primary puck carrier on them. He was terrible in that role last week in the limited spots he did. He botched 2 on Saturday that almost led to scoring chances for the Crunch. Clendenning doesn't have the speed to be dangerous through the neutral zone, so having him carry the puck through the neutral zone doesn't make a whole lot of sense. His value on the power play is his one-timer. That's it. Asking him to excel at more than that on the power play is going to leave you disappointed, and that's pretty much what it's done. In zone, I thought it took steps forward, even though I still disagree with the deployment of both power play units. But leaving Forrester on his offhand half wall so he can one-time pucks was smart. I saw less rushed attempts trying to force pucks to the slot, a lot better puck movement, but still, it definitely looks like this is an area that they're going to need to focus more on in practice. I know it's still early in the season, and I've heard quotes from Ian LaPerriere that like they're slowly, building on stuff. You don't give all these guys everything at once because they're not able to process all of that. You need to kind of give them some scaffolding before, just dropping a house on them. And that's evident in some areas, but some of the power play tactics that they could be executing here, I think they need to drill down and focus on those, because this still to me looks like a lot of problems just in execution and understanding the scheme, as opposed to they don't have the talent to pull it off.
Shifting for kind of more of an overall look at, and yet staying detailed. Let's take a look and say specific player wise, who stood out to you individually.
Gary Mayhew for sure stood out Saturday, and some of that was needed as he looked invisible for long stretches against Utica and hasn't looked much close to the dominant player he was even last season in Iowa, where it felt like he came into that Iowa locker room after being on the taxi squad for Minnesota, and it was like a whole different team. And I mean, obviously, 2 years ago, 1920, he puts up 39 goals and lights the world on fire. But part of me wonders if it's a Samson effect going here. But still, he broke out of a funk on Saturday. We'll see if he can carry that momentum going forward. But getting on the board is usually a good medicine for getting your game right. And, in a weird way, he still managed to put one home on Saturday. Morgan Frost played very well over the weekend, but took two just stupid penalties against the Crutch that almost cost his team. Both were just undisciplined and the kind of thing that keeps him in Lehigh Valley. Like if I'm the Flyers general manager or one of the Flyers coaches and I see that, I'm like, that's more so than you maybe slacking a little bit on defense. You taking undisciplined penalties is a shot in the foot. But otherwise, he looked very smooth and took over parts of Saturday's game. But he's still pretty stake bitten, as a lot of phantoms on the roster are for sure. Tyson Forrester is the most snake bitten. Like, he had to miss the net 7 times this weekend.
Oof.
And they were all like quality shots. These aren't, shooting from the blue line. Like, he was in good space to make these shots and just couldn't hit the net. And like, Tyson Forrester is a great shooter. This is not a lack of talent. Maybe gripping the stick a little bit too tight at this point in the season, but like, he's going to turn it on at some point. I remember we talked last year about Arthur Kaliev, I think it was, for Ontario, where it's like, yeah, he had like in their first 10 games, he had like 40 shots on net and 1 goal. It's like, that won't stand. Tyson Forrester is eventually going to start finding his mark, finding his timing on these, and they're going to go in. Felix Sandstrom looked like the far better goalie of the Phantoms tandem as well. Both goalies made in that Syracuse Phantoms game, both made what should have probably been a 6-5 game into a 3-2 game. It was a lot of scoring chances for both teams. I thought Syracuse sustained more offense, but Miftahov was amazing. He came out to challenge very high out of his crease quite a few times. And that was impressive to me. Sandstrom looked very poised in net too. Some of his post play, I think, needs a little cleaning up. He also needs a little bit of work on his depth. There are a couple of moments where he was very deep in his net. And for a goalie that's just average sized by goaltending size standards these days, that's not great.
Lastly, let's move beyond this weekend. I'm sure the Phantoms definitely want to forget about it. Let's look forward to what they need to do better again and what they have ahead of them beyond this Halloween weekend.
I mean, this team has talent on offense, and the fact that they've scored 10 goals in 5 games is just nuts to me. While I'm confident they'll turn it around in the scoring department, I think some of the power play problems we discussed are going to stick around for a little bit longer as they try and either build that scheme out or get players more comfortable with it. I have hopes that the scheme, once it's fully unfurled, if you will be more tactically sound than what I've seen so far. I haven't been a huge fan of that, but I'm not rushing to judgment on there. They host Wilkes-Barre Scranton. I believe it's tonight, Wednesday night. And then they hit the road for a weekend series with Charlotte. Wilkes-Barre Scranton has managed a hot start. We obviously aren't going to comment on that game as it's happening right now while we're recording. So I have no idea if they look good in that, but Wilkes-Barre Scranton has managed, I believe, a 5-1 start in that division, which is surprising because their roster is not exactly, overflowing with, prospect talent or quality veterans. So if they could manage to pull one away from Wilkes-Barre Scranton tonight, that would be a big statement win from them. Charlotte has a team that has a lot of talent, but has been a little bit snake bitten and kind of struggled here and there too. So I think it's likely we see the Phantoms struggle for at least another week. I'm not saying they won't win any of these games, but I mean, if they put 6 points on the board in these 3 games, I will issue a formal apology on Twitter, but I think they're going to struggle for another week at least.
Well, and don't forget about Wilkes-Barre Scranton's rookie netminder, who just got dubbed goaltender of the month. Not just rookie goaltender of the month, but goaltender of the month for the AHL. Philip Lindbergh, 4-0-0, responsible for 4 of those 5 victories, and 7 goals allowed on 121 shots, 1.71 goals against average, 0.942 save percentage. Obviously, unless your name is Logan Thompson, that may not be a sustainable clip, but very impressive for a rookie netminder. And
if I remember our season previews and looking over his film, I don't think that will be sustainable. No.
Fair.
But we'll see. Goaltending is basically made up. So we will see what he's capable of. I'm sure we will get to preview them and deep dive them sometime in the near future here. So we will get back to you guys on that one.
For sure.
All right, we are going to take a break here, and then we will get to Rochester and Laval, America versus French Canada. If you're just here for Lehigh Valley, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. Links to all of that, as well as our podcast links, can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to go pay some bills. We will be right back to talk about Americans in French Canada. Stay tuned.
We head on to the North Division and go to the series, as Sean so adequately put it, Americans against French Canadians. And we talk Rochester, the literal Rochester Americans against the Laval Rocket. And Sean, once again, Friday, 7 p.m. in Laval, Saturday, 1 p.m. in Laval. Kind of a odd scheduling right there, as we pointed out, but not necessarily against Rochester there. We'll get there. Sean, take it away.
All right, let's do a quick box score recap here. Friday on the power play, a one-time shot from a Royal Road pass fired wide by Jack Quinn gets recovered quickly behind the net by Michael Mersch, and he beats Kaden Primo with a wraparound as Primo was sliding to the post and wasn't really ready to make the save. Bit of a fluky broken play goal, but credit for Mersch to be able to control the puck off the wall and get the puck on the net onto the net. 40 seconds into the second, the Americans forecheck well on a dump in, get 2 shot attempts that are both blocked, but importantly win the battles along the boards in front of rebounds. They work it to Davidson on the left point, with Laval in all the scrambling with the block shots and trying to recover, miscommunicates its man-on-man coverage, defensive structure, and left Bakash untouched in front. He screens Primo perfectly, and Davidson blasts it past him to make it 2-0. Laval, like the Empire, strikes back to make it 2-1, although the Empire never really got a power play. Although I suppose the whole point was the Rebels were always shorthanded. Anyway, dump in by Laval on the power play is not well recovered by the Amerks. Laval gets it back, and Jean-Sebastien Day finds Corey Schoenemann across Royal Road, and he tees it up over Dell's blocker. The Americans managed to weather the storm from Laval that followed the goal and get a good bounce off a somewhat broken zone entry play. The puck comes to Davidson again on the point, who sees Mersch win a battle in front against Carl Neal, and Davidson shoots it low blocker side towards Mersch's stick, and Mersch gets the tip that beats Primo high glove. Beautiful tip there from Michael Mersch. Laval stages another comeback attempt with 13:41 left in the third period. They'd been setting up quality scoring chances throughout the second period, so it makes sense their next goal comes off such a fluky play. Routine 2-on-2 rush play. Paling tries to shoot it and has it blocked by Ethan Pro, and everyone seems to lose track of where it ends up after the block. It plops right down in the slot where Raphael Harvey-Pinard backhands it over Dell's glove to make it 3-2. We talk about Laval having problems with breakouts and getting scored on because of it. Here we are. Brandon Baddock makes a chip off the boards in his own end that was maybe supposed to go to Ryan Paling. Jack Quinn recovers. He finds Malone on the right half wall, who kicks it up to the point for Fitzgerald, who skates through a one-timer and puts one past a screened Kaden Primo's glove. 4-2 Amerks. Laval keeps it interesting, though, as they get a zone entry from Ryan Paling, who just walks the Amerks defense back to the face-off dots unpressured, and sauces a beauty of a Royal Road pass to Xavier Ouellette, who bats it out of the air to beat Arundel. The Americans hold on, however, to win 4-3. Saturday, 11 goals are scored, so hold on here for a second. Americans get on the board first on the power play that Louis Belpedio gifted them after a rush scoring chance that Peterka just can't quite finish. The Americans work the puck around the outside as Mersch hits Laxonen from the faceoff dot. Laxonen immediately finds Jack Quinn on the opposite faceoff dot, and Quinn looks off Mcniven like he's passing into the slot and then rips a wrister over his blocker, 1-0. Laval strikes back as a failed clearing attempt by the Amerks is recovered by Belzile, who finds Ouellette at the top of the circle. Ouellette hits Paling across Royal Road, and he walks in untouched and dekes Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, a.k.a. Rifle, with the old forehand-backhand move to tuck it into a net that was dislodged by Rifle as he tried to push off the post. Jesse Ulanen makes it 2-1 Rocket after he pulls a spin move along the wall to separate from Ryan Scarfo, cuts past a sprawling Josh Tevez, and fires a low blocker side wrister that beats Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who was heavily screamed by Laurent Dauphin in front. Michael Mersch doesn't do anything fancy to tie the game back at 2. He wins a battle behind the net against Toby Paquette-Bisson, walks to the side of the net, catches Mcniven napping as he just shovels it 5-hole. Linus Wiesbach is stripped with the puck in the offensive zone, and Laval does what we talked about in the preview and gets the counterattack going. 3-on-2 the other way. Lucas Vedemo kicks it to Michael Pelzada at the blue line. He drives wide on Josh Tevez, chips it at the net. It hits traffic in front and goes in somehow. Tally another dumb luck goal from Michael Pelzada, 3-2 Rockets. On a faceoff in the Rocket zone, a rugby-style scrum ensues, and Wiesbach gets a fortunate bounce as the puck comes to him, and he immediately puts it low blocker past Mcniven, who looked to be screened by his own defenseman in Gianni Fairbrother. Scorekeepers in Laval doing some charity work as both Mersch and McInnes get assists here, 3-all. Just a minute later, some weird bounces off a dump-in attempt at the Laval blue line make an easy zone entry for Ethan Pro. He kicks it to Mahe Prakash on the left wall. Prakash finds Mason Yops across Royal Road. He puts the shot wide, but Prakash recovers in time and catches Michael Mcniven napping again and easily wraps it around for a 4-3 lead for Rochester, 13:22 left in the third. About 3 minutes later, the Americans strike with Peterka as he catches up to a chip in by Jack Quinn. He tries to find Quinn in the slot, but the pass goes through the slot to Fitzgerald, who sees Mcniven sprawling, but he hits the post. The puck comes back to Jimmy Schultz, who blasted past Mcniven, who was still scrambling and still did not recover in time. Apparently, he took some beautiful Tylenol PM before the game. The Rocket become our third time this season that a goalie pool 80 challenge is complete. Down by 2 goals, they pull it 5:42 for a 6-on-4 power play. Paling works the puck down from the right half wall. Dauphin in front, who throws a shot on Rifle. Similar to what Mersch did earlier, Rifle makes the save but doesn't control the rebound, which just goes straight to Jesse Ulanen, who seems surprised the puck even found him and puts it in the empty net. 50 seconds later, the Rocket get a zone entry and work the cycle down in the left corner. Belzile sends it up to Terrence Amorosa, who puts it right back into the corner for Belzile, who fires a pass across Royal Road to the back door, where JSD is just charging at the net, and he taps it home to tie the game with 4:28 left in regulation. In OT, Peterka goes coast to coast and enters the zone down the left half wall, draws both D and Ouellette to him, and dishes to Oskari Laxonen, who is left wide open as Ryan Paling goes unplugged controller instead of either back-checking or changing as he is tired. 6-5, Rochester is your final on Saturday. Do we even want to do the picks recap for this, CC? Because I kind of don't.
I don't either. And like I alluded to earlier, I picked a Laval sweep. Sean said 2 high-scoring games, both teams featuring goalies that he didn't have faith in. He was talking a split with Laval taking Friday's game. But guess what? The model actually was with me on this one, and it was incorrect. Laval, 53.4% favorite in each of these games, probably getting some home ice points there, but Rochester took both of those games, and Sean, you did get a pick right. 18 goals between the 2 games, which was really freaky.
I also did technically pick Rochester on Saturday, so there is also that.
There is also that, and that was probably the 16th one that put you over, right?
Yeah. That was number 16 for it.
Yeah. Well, let's take some bigger looks. I mean, that was the game flow. Those were the goals. I mean, what did you see on a team level from Rochester this weekend that spelled a successful formula for getting those 2 victories?
Luck. I thought Laval was the better team both nights by a fair margin. Arundel absolutely stole Friday's game. I don't even think that's up for discussion. Arundel stole Friday's game. And then Michael Mcniven gave away Saturday's game. One big concern I had too was the Amerks forecheck, which was at least somewhat effective in spots on Friday. They scored the second goal mostly because of it, but it was completely absent for the first 2 periods on Saturday. It wasn't just spotty. It was gone. Their first forechecker rarely got effective pressure on the puck carrier, and his support from the second and third forwards, F2 and F3, was regularly non-existent. This allowed Laval to basically just fly through the neutral zone and gain zone entries at ease the entire weekend. I mean, they were the better team in both games, and yet hockey is full of weird bounces and goaltending is made up, and that's how we got here. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You know, we talked about Rochester defending the house, that home plate area in the defensive zone. We talked about them defending it better as a key to the weekend. How do you think that went for the Amerks?
I thought it went okay. It's definitely looked better. They look to have tightened up at least that area of defense a little bit. There are still many others that need some repair, but in terms of that, I thought it was better, but I wouldn't call it good. Saturday's game certainly had its moments where they were letting passes through there, but breakdowns will happen. It's more about keeping them to a minimum. But this weekend, I felt like in terms of starting to lock down that area a little bit more, not letting pucks go through. Friday was teetering on good. Saturday was, at least if you squinted at it, passable. So improvements in that area for the Amerks this weekend. I would at least take hope away from it, but that defense needs a lot of other things to be addressed.
Shifting over to Laval, let's talk about the Rocket a little bit. You thought that they were the better team all weekend, as you spared no no illusions, nothing, no sugarcoating. You thought they were the better team this weekend. Why?
So one of the things that really sank Laval was penalties, and not so much that they were taking a ton. They only took 1 penalty on Saturday, but they were taking bad ones. And at times when they were having like a great job of sustaining offense, they have momentum going, and then they take a bad penalty and it just kills them. As Rochester's power play, you'll see from the box score, is dangerous. And if you watch Rochester's power play, they move the puck very well, and they have, Paterka and Quinn in with time and space. They're going to do damage. But Friday, Gabriel Bork called for a hooking call. 4 minutes later, it's Schuneman for a trip. They managed to kill those off, but it just killed their offensive flow. Then they start the third with a Bill Zeal hook. On Saturday, they only took 1 penalty, but it was the dumbest penalty possible. Louis Belpedio fighting Josh Tevez after Tevez makes a clean open ice hit on Lauren Tefan is insanely dumb. Are we just fighting guys for every open ice clean check now? Like, congrats on taking a wildly unnecessary 17 minutes and penalties. Like, this is Louis Belpedio. He's a top 4 defenseman on this team. You missing all that time sitting in the box means crappier guys have to go play those minutes now. You're also putting your team on the penalty kill, a penalty kill that got scored on. Like, this is a very bad look. Like, if you want to tell me that, we got to protect our players from hits like that, well, then tell your player not to put his head down with a puck on his stick in the neutral zone. That way the player can be protected from himself. Because you cost your team a goal in a game that you lost by 1. So you could do what? Not scare Josh Tevez into not making that hit again? Because you didn't. If that was supposed to be like punishment or, instilling fear in Josh Tevez to not hit guys like that again, it didn't work. But Laval, to their credit, I feel like I'm kicking them a little too much here. They looked like a dominant team for long stretches in this game, just spending multiple shifts creating scoring chances in the offensive zone. We did also mention some other things in the preview there. One of them was they needed to retool the power play. They went 2 for 6 this weekend. I definitely saw adjustments that I felt like were not there in the previous games I watched for their power plays. A few times I saw them do something that genuinely excited me. They started stationing 2 guys behind the net and were doing passes back and forth between them, not like as a cycle or a recovery. Like that was an intentional tactic they were using. And it was brief. And we saw Manitoba use that style briefly last season, but it's a creative setup. It's innovative. Goalies definitely do not like it. And I love it. And we also said that on the power play, they needed to look for more of those cross ice one-timers that we talked about when Charles Hudon was on the team. They would just feed those to him. They weren't as aggressive as I liked with those looks, but they did try and find them a couple times, even on 5-on-5, but on the power play, looking for those cross ice one-timers, those passes through the slot. I'd like to see them try and work those a little bit more. They weren't as aggressive as I would like with trying to get those passes, but they were looking for them. They did connect on a few.
On the Rochester side of the puck, now going back over to the Amerks, it is obvious that Peterka and Quinn stood out. But did anyone else stand out to you, Sean?
Yes, but in moments, in shifts, not necessarily for the duration of even a game or a weekend. Michael Marsh obviously played well, but when the Sabres call up Peterka and Quinn, I'm very concerned about the depth behind this team. The two of them drive so much of the offense for this team, especially this weekend. On Saturday, that Malone, Quinn, Peterka first top line, I mean, it seemed like for the first two periods, if offense was getting done in Rochester's name, it was that line or it was nobody. And while Michael Mersch has played well, I don't believe he continues to score at this rate, especially with the spotlight on Peterka and Quinn from the defenses they'll face. You know, those guys get called up for a stretch with Buffalo. They're going to need guys like Weisbach, Prakash, McInnes, Jobst to step up into bigger roles. And I like Weisbach, but the rest of them seem very hit and miss to be consistent top six scorers, even in a pinch. So those moments kind of concern me. I saw good things from all of them this weekend, but not in enough substance to really give me hope for what happens to the Amerks season, you know, when Peterka and Quinn end up, in Buffalo. Rifle's game concerned me a lot. And that 6-on-4 goal was maybe his fault, but it's hard to pin the others on him per se. And yet that seems to be the case of not necessarily doing a bunch of wrongs, but not doing enough right. Could he have stopped that Paling goal if the post stays in place and he's able to push across? Maybe. But so many of those times where you just wish he'd make a tough save and step up and kind of bail his team out a little bit, he just hasn't. And the same could be said for Kaden Primo. Kaden Primo didn't really do anything wrong in Friday's loss. But again, I don't think he did enough right. And that's been one of my strikes against him so far in his career. He's not a bad goalie. He has raw tools, much like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. But if he's supposed to be the heir apparent to the Sabres net, like Primo's supposed to be the quote-unquote heir apparent to the Habs net, why doesn't he have more games that look like what Dell did on Friday, where his team wins strictly because he willed them to victory? He carried them kicking and screaming to that W. I don't see a lot of those games from either of them, and that concerns me. And I see a lot of games like this where it's like, yeah, they got scored on a bunch, but were any of them really their fault? No, they get scored on very, high danger shots, but like you'd like them to stop some of those, even just at what feels like a 80% rate, because they don't. And that's what I think some of my bigger takeaways were. Michael Mcniven was terrible on Saturday, as we've kind of talked about in here and there. He was trying to make desperation save after desperation save all night because he was late. He was late making reads, didn't sense threats away from the puck carrier until they were already putting it past him. I'm genuinely surprised he didn't get yanked after the Prakash goal, where he was late to reading the wraparound attempt, and he got beat to the post by a country mile, or I guess since this is Canada, like 2 kilometers, maybe
2.6 kilometers.
I don't know,
something like that.
I only know the metric system through watching shows about drugs, so I really don't feel like they cover distance that well.
Oh yeah, 1 mile equals 1.609 kilometers. So
I'll call that a victory. 2 kilometers a country mile. That sounds.
I just rounded. I put an extra kilometer on there, 2.6 kilometers instead
Canadians,
of 1.6.
leave us notes in the comments here on YouTube. What would you call a country mile in metric? That's our question.
That is our question for our Canadian viewers and listeners for sure. All right. Well, let's finish up here with Rochester and Laval. Again, a weekend that Laval's like, okay, we played hard, we played good, but we lost 2 games. Let's move on. And Rochester, I guess maybe building off of this momentum a little bit. Where do they both go from here?
Well, Rochester now has Canada come to them as they host Belleville, I believe, right now, and Toronto definitely on Friday. Both teams have struggled recently. Toronto has been blown out 5-0 twice and 7-2 by Rochester, but won both their games against Belleville this weekend 5-2. Belleville did win their last meeting against Rochester 7-3, so that's not ideal. If the Amerks can get some goaltending help and improve a bit forechecking, it's not unreasonable they could walk away with 4 points here, but there are still a lot of big questions surrounding defense, goaltending, and a couple of other things that make me nervous before saying like, oh yeah, they should be the favorites for 4 points this weekend. But I think there is enough good here that you can squint at and see a competitive team in this division, but some things definitely need to get tightened up. Goaltending being one of them, some of their forechecking and neutral zone play being another, some of their defensive zone play being another, and a couple instances where they need to sustain offensive zone pressure a little bit more. Okay, now that sounds like a lot now that I think about it out loud.
Yeah, I was going to say, this list keeps getting bigger, but since you took a little bit longer with Rochester, why don't I take Laval and I'll talk what Laval has ahead of them. The Rocket go to play, the rest of New York Saturday and Sunday with a road trip to Utica and Syracuse respectively. Syracuse has won 3 straight games past regulation time, and they're going to get Laval on a back-to-back. Utica plays Laval as the 3rd game, as Laval, they've got a 3-3. So the Rocket, if nothing else, should be the fresher team in both of their, Utica has the 3-3. My mistake. Yep. Utica has the 3-3. And so Laval, they should be the fresher team going into both of their upcoming games. Forgive me for that and mixing that up. But yes, so that's what the Rocket have to look forward to this coming week and weekend.
Yeah, so they have definitely a little bit of room to build there. Like being the you're playing a team that's on the second game of a 2-2, playing your first game of the weekend. That should be at least a little bit of an advantage. The fact that you have to travel in the border and stuff probably negates some of that. But Utica playing a 3-3 and you being the 3rd of those games, I'm thinking if Laval is going to get its mojo going again, it's going to be in that Utica game. All right, well, we are going to take a break here. After the break, we will get to Iowa and Manitoba. Wild and Moose, if you were just here for Rochester and or Laval, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media as well as you can find links to all of our social media as well as our podcast links on our Linktree page, linktr.ee. That's linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to pay some bills. We will be right back with some Central Division chatter. Stay tuned.
Let's head on over to the Central Division and talk about Iowa and Manitoba. And, Saturday at 2 p.m. in Manitoba, Sunday at 2 p.m. in Manitoba, because, as Sean brought up last episode, Canada closes at 5 p.m.
Got to get out in time, or you're going to be stuck there for a whole other night, which I think sounds pleasant. Canada's pretty cool. Although apparently Manitoba doesn't have Wi-Fi. So at least that's what a 6'8" Russian guy told me once. So who knows? But Iowa actually didn't fly on this. They decided to bus it, which sounds awful, but they didn't do it all at once.
That's correct. Yeah, the Wild actually stopped in Fargo, North Dakota, and the Fargo Force NAHL team played host to the Wild and allowed them to get a practice in on October 29th, that Friday, on the way to Manitoba and Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And that bus ride from Fargo to Winnipeg, my dad used to live in Fargo, and one Christmas we actually made that drive from Fargo. I think I mentioned that on the last episode. Yeah, 3 hour and 40-minute drive. Just wanted to go to Canada, hang out, and can confirm Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada is friggin' freezing in the wintertime. And the drive was long. And of course, you've got customs and everything. So that, having a pit stop at least in North Dakota and to get a practice in on that Friday night, I think that was beneficial to Iowa. And you'll see why here in a little bit. But we wanted to say thanks to Wild Farm Report, at Wild Farm Report on Twitter for bringing that to our attention, because I don't think we would have seen it otherwise.
Also, just want to point out too, if they had stopped on the other side of the border at some junior team's practice and gotten the exact same treatment, the entire province of Manitoba would have banished them.
Yes. Yeah, the province would have been like, you're going to be sent south. You're going to the United States.
Your coach is going to get a parking ticket every hour for the rest of his life.
Oh, gosh. Yes, just completely blacklisted, red listed.
Oh, yeah.
In Manitoba for sure. Also, before we get into the analysis, fun fact, I did want to bring this up because Manitoba's broadcasting crew reminded me that Marco Rossi of the Iowa Wild, or the Minnesota Wild organization, and Cole Perfetti, they went number 9 and number 10 back to back in the 2020 NHL entry draft.
Another fun fact for you there.
Yeah.
5 more people were drafted between them and Cole Caulfield.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, and Cole Caulfield getting sent back down to Laval for
That's a story for another. That's a different Canada.
We
Canada.
We already talked about Laval. That's French. Yeah, French Canada. Much different. But I digress. It's time to talk about the analysis of Iowa and Manitoba. And Saturday, first 2 minutes of the game, Joe Hickett's taking it down the right wing. He flings a backhand, just kind of a desperation backhand onto the net behind the goal line in that corner there on the right wing. And it was an odd angled shot to say the least, but it got by Mikhail Burden. Burden was just it was such a fluke, freakish goal. And Iowa, that's how they started the game. Just not even 2 minutes into it, they're up 1-0 on a freakish goal that Burden just didn't squeeze his leg pad or his left arm up against the post. I mean, that's how freakish it was. Anyway, so next goal did belong to Manitoba. However, Poulet had a wraparound attempt deflected over to Thomas Caron, who snapshotted it into the net past the Hamburglar. Andrew Hammond ties the game up 1-1. Next goal also belonged to the Moose. Kovacevic, he had an initial point shot tipped in front by Cole Mayer. Count it, 2-1 Manitoba in the second period. And almost the exact same spot about 2.5 minutes later, Gavanki blasted home for a 3-1 lead. And, Mayer, he won the faceoff. It was kind of a tic-tac-toe. It happened real fast. Mayer won the faceoff. He was diving in a pass to Shaw, and Shaw immediately sent it over to Gavanki. It was just a very, Manitoba was really good with those tic-tac goals. I'll just say that. Tic-tac-toe, they're really good at passing between 3 or 4 guys in quick succession. So I will give them that. Cramarosa for Iowa, he came in and cut it to 1. He drove on the left wing side. He drew 2 defenders to him. He stops, kind of, creates some nice snow there, just kind of and reverses direction, stops and pivots to his backhand, passes it. Nice saucer pass. He drew those 2 defenders. Saucer passes it right to Mason Shaw. Shaw drives it in. And Burden was just completely caught off guard by the Royal Road pass to bring it 3-2 to the Moose just shy of a minute later. And then you had, again, another tic-tac-toe goal. Perfetti, Chisholm, and Gustafson. Tic-tac-toe on the power play in front of Hammond. Bumps the Moose up to 4-2. Then you have Chafee. Chafee had a wrister from the right wing. It brings it back within 1 just 37 seconds later. It's like 2 pugilists going back and forth in the second period here on Saturday. 4-2. Manitoba, well, actually 4-3, sorry. Lundmark makes it 5-3. Wrister from the center blue line through traffic and off of Hickett's skate. So it actually deflected off of an Iowa defender and in at 10:50 of the third period. That's your insurance goal. That's your final score on Saturday, 5-3. Sunday, much different story. Instead of Andrew Hammond in net, you had Derek Barabo, and of course you had Mikhail Burden, his 6th start in 7 games. Forgive me for slurring that. That was a lot of S's. But apparently Manitoba is going to continue to run the wheels off of Mikhail Burden once again this season. I digress. Let's talk about Sunday's game. Will Bitton starts off scoring for Iowa. He swoops around the upper arch of Manitoba's zone. He chucks it on net and in. Burden was just out of position. He didn't look ready for the shot on goal at all. And unfortunately, that seems to be a common theme with him on a lot of these goals that he allows in. Second goal of the night, Cramarosa brings it in. He's stripped, but Manitoba fails to clear. Shaw fakes a shot and makes a backdoor pass back to Cramarosa for an easy tally with Burden. Imagine this, far out of net and therefore far out of position. Oof. Marco Rossi, who I mentioned earlier, he had a saucer road pass to Cramarosa yet again on a breakaway. Deke to a backhand goal past Burden. 3-0 Iowa after the first 2 periods, knocking Manitoba on their rear end, and they didn't recover. Hickett's risks a shot at the top of the faceoff circles through traffic in the 3rd period. 4-0. Yeah, Manitoba deep hole in the 3rd period. Gustafson drives in, backhand hook passes to Perfetti on the left wing doorstep. It's a goal, but it's too little too late because they scored it at 17:40 of the 3rd period. That's your final on Sunday. 4-1 Iowa. Definitely got their feet about them. Definitely got their skates underneath them, and it was quite an effort by Iowa on Sunday to bounce back the way that they did. So, yeah.
Say I'll take the picks recap portion of it here since you took the goals portion. So CC, you thoughts, and I was a little bit in this neighborhood too. Iowa had, a bunch of call-ups right before the weekend. They suited up for the Minnesota portion of the Wild. So you picked Manitoba to take the weekend with the Wild at reduced strength.
I did.
I wanted to point out that the model didn't realize that that's what happened. So they would have Manitoba as a favorite, but I didn't completely trust what was going with Burden. So I'd take the split, Moose Saturday, Wild Sunday. Just want to do a
Oh yeah, do the Hulk Hogan pose, brother.
And the model had Iowa as a 53.6% favorite in each game because it didn't know that players got taken away after I did the weekly update on Tuesday. So, CC, big picture here. What did you see from both teams on kind of a team level from this weekend?
Well, once again, Manitoba won the game 5-3 on Saturday. I felt like they had much more of a scoring presence. Obviously on Saturday you put up 5, and then the next game Iowa took 4-1 on Sunday with only 1 goal, and Iowa had consistent goal scoring. That's the thing, is like, even though they were down Addison, even though they were down a few forwards, like they had Cramarosa, they had Marco Rossi, they had these guys that were able to still produce goals at a consistent level, where Manitoba, I'm going to say it, I think they are the Tucson Roadrunners of the Central Division in the fact that they are so Jekyll and Hyde. It is just so bizarre how, like in those first 2 minutes of the Saturday game, I noticed that Manitoba looked like they were sleepwalking on defense. And they just let, I'm forgetting who scored that first goal now, Joe Hicketts. They just let Joe Hicketts drive up the right wing side. Like they were kind of putting him, putting some pressure on him. But then when he got to the goal line, he literally just shoves the defender off of him so he can lob that backhand on net and onto Burden. And of course, like I said, it was a fluky goal. It was really strange. But like I mentioned in the preview, Manitoba's defense, if they make those stupid, and it doesn't matter if they score a goal or not, they're guilty of the lackadaisical defense. They're guilty of committing stupid penalties. For example, their first penalty of the weekend, a too many men on the ice. Yep. And listen to this. They let Iowa come back into the game on Saturday multiple times, but this is probably the most glaring transgression on their part. Called for hooking with 30 seconds left in the second period. That resulted in a power play goal to start off the third period. They let Iowa, bring the game to 4-3. And so it's like, Oh, okay, boys, but I mean, they kept coming back and responding on offense. And, I'll get to that in a second, why I think that they had a little bit more, determination and motivation on Saturday. But anyway, I digress. Let's keep analyzing special teams. I know special teams, I said that was going to be a key for Manitoba. If their penalty kill, if they ramped it up and got it better, their special teams went exactly 80% on the penalty kill. And that was what they were taking into this game. Not good, Bob. I mean, they only allowed one power play goal for the weekend, but, like I said, it was off of a dumb hooking penalty at the end of the second period in Saturday's game. So, woof. And the power play, they only had one power play goal on 6 chances, which isn't bad. I mean, it's better than the 12.5% clip that they were bringing into the game. But yeah, I wanted their special teams to be better this weekend if they were going to have a chance to sweep it. And unfortunately, it just wasn't. And so, yeah, I mean, what else can I say? Iowa, I felt like brought more physicality. I felt that Manitoba, especially in the third period of Saturday's game, I felt like they brought a little more physicality to it because they had that sense of urgency. They're like, all right, let's close this one out. And they had the killer instinct on Saturday, which they obviously didn't on Sunday. And, when it comes to Iowa, like you mentioned, just the fact that if they just keep doing what they're doing, keep on keeping on is what you said. They are moving the puck well. They continued to move the puck well this weekend. They were defending well. They got contributions up and down the lineup. And yeah, I mean, these teams are 2-3 in the Central Division. So for Iowa to really kind of solidify themselves as a second place team, I mean, it was a big thing to be able to put the body on the Moose and to really kind of bully them around. More so in the second game. Obviously, you can see that on the score sheet, but definitely in the first 2 periods of the first game. And when Minnesota started to push back a little bit, I wish I would have seen that a little more on Sunday, but unfortunately Iowa forechecked better, back checked better, and just were the better team and the more disciplined team, as it were.
And it's funny because I remember thinking back to last season too. We saw that with Iowa when they had their big forwards get called up, when they started without Mayhew, when they had call-ups, when they had injuries. You saw them bring that snarl back into their game, that physical element that wasn't, I won't say absent when they had some more of their skill guys there, but like instead of trying to put depth guys into primary scoring roles, it's just like, go hit stuff and at least let's play a physical 2-1 kind of game. Now, that's not obviously the scores of how these went, but like it's not surprising to see Tim Army go back to the bag of tricks that he used last year to kind of help Iowa carry through rough parts where his roster was stretched thin of, all right, guys, we're probably not going to beat them in a boat race, 6-5, but let's see if we can't make an ugly 3-2, 2-1 kind of game happen here. And that sounds, at least from your tone of it, what happened. Mm-hmm. So I think now that I'm kind of piecing that together, that's not surprising because that was what they did last year.
Yeah. And, come to think of it, like they using that physicality, a lot of the time, Iowa, just really could corral the puck and either force a turnover in their own zone to take it the other way, or to really clamp down in the neutral zone. And just, when Manitoba was on offensively, they could, move the puck around, but it's like, again, it's a Jekyll and Hyde scenario. I feel like 50-50, like they've got the offense churning, they've got the cycle going, they can keep it in the offensive zone. And then the other 50% of the time, the defense is having a really hard time clearing the puck. And even if they do clear the zone, Iowa just pins them up against the boards in the neutral zone and just, creates a turnover. And, like Hayden Shaw, I felt was really good. To get a little granular here and to talk a little bit more about individual players, Hayden Shaw was really good about his defensive awareness for Manitoba, gathering the puck behind the net and clearing it. He was a guy that stuck out to me that actually helped Manitoba on the defensive end of the puck. But when you're trying to clear the puck, one instance, the guy was like jumping up in the air, trying to swat the puck with his hand. It's like, that doesn't seem like a very effective way. It's legal as far as I know, I think, in the neutral zone, but yeah, it just kind of reeked of desperation for Manitoba. I mean, you can't have, you can't clone Hayden Shaw and have him out there on the ice and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, when they were on, guys like Cole Perfetti, great job bringing the puck in the zone. Even 1-on-5, I noticed he protected the puck until help arrived and the line got changed. And he also created those offensive chances with the puck movement in Iowa's zone. Like I said, once those tape-to-tape passes for Manitoba really were going and those tic-tac-toe plays ended up in a scoring chance, they were on. But I want to go back to Iowa, and I want to talk about the goaltending. Andrew Hammond letting up 5 goals in on Saturday. Again, Manitoba was flexing their offensive muscle a little bit on that. But Derek Baribeau, 29 saves on 30 shots, and he was making the saves that Andrew Hammond wasn't. So whenever you had those Royal Road passes or whenever you had those tic-tac-toe plays on Sunday, Baribeau was making the highlight reel saves. Baribeau was lunging and making those, oh my gosh, what a save, just those ESPN top 10 worthy plays. Like Baribeau, he had that it element that Andrew Hammond did not this weekend. And so because of that, obviously just 1 goal allowed, and it was such an impressive effort. And the defense, like I said, it clamped down a little bit, even though, again, they allowed 30 shots on goal. Baribeau rose to the occasion. And it was definitely a rebound game, and it was definitely more of a statement game in Iowa. Like, hey, we traveled to Canada, and we're going to take a victory from you guys. So that in mind, I mentioned keys to the game that, hey, if Manitoba doesn't allow 25 shots or more on goal, they're going to get a victory. Wow, did they prove me wrong on this one? They turned it on its head, and Manitoba allowed 35 shots on goal on Saturday, which they won, and then they allowed 17 shots on goal on Sunday, which they allowed 4 goals. So Mikhail Burden went 13 for 17, 13 saves on set. Yeah, awful. Why don't you put Arvid Holm in there for that Sunday game?
You need to give that man a vacation. Like he started 6 or 7 already. Like the last year they wrote it. I understand you want to give him games, you want him to develop, but I watched some of the highlights of this game, and the goals he's given up he looks unfocused. Like he is not aware of the bigger sheet of what's going on. Like he's zeroing in on goaltenders or on shooters and locking in on them. And that's how he's missing backdoor plays. That's how he's it's not so much that he's late making those reads. He's late not just making them, he's late reacting to them. He's not even sliding for some of them. And having watched Michael Mcniven and Laval do the same thing, you can't just keep running them out there. That's not going to work.
Well, and the thing is, when he does slide for him, he slides. It feels like a big overcommitment. That's something else I noticed from his time too. It's just when he's sliding to make a play, I feel like he goes way halfway between the goal and the sideboards there. I'm just you are way out of position. And if they get a rebound, and that's what happened. With one of the Cramarosa goals, he was way out of position. He was looking at the other guy, making that saucer pass to Cramarosa, and that was all she wrote. Because Burden, when he commits, he overcommits, and that's his biggest problem. And unfocused is unfortunately, a great adjective for what's going on with him right now. I mean, Manitoba has strung together a win streak this season of 3 games, and you know how they put that together? Because they had Burden start the first one, Holmes start the second one, and Burden start the next one. And that's what you need to do. You don't need to just run this guy into the ground and start him for 75, 80, 85% of your games. Because you tried that last year. Yeah. It's just not going to work.
I understand he's going to want to go into the locker room, after practice and be like, I want the start. But again, we said this last year too. Someone's got to be the adult in the room and be like, no, you are not playing well right now. You are overworked. Go home, take an ice bath, watch some Netflix. Got some good recommendations I can make for you, but he needs to take some time in between starts, because just running him out there, especially in that Saturday game, 4 goals on 17 shots. I understand, some of them were just beautiful plays by the offense, but
it was.
And that's my worry too. We're going to end up seeing him at the end of the season with 70 starts and an 885 save percentage.
No, it's going to be, Mark Morrison needs to put his foot down and be like, listen, we need to go with home. We need to go with home for a game.
I mean, maybe it's not Mark Morrison who's making these pushes. Like we talked about last season a little bit. Like there are teams who the head coach is just like, whatever the goalie coach tells me to do is what I do. I don't know goalies. Goalies are a different breed of human, which is not wrong. And, whatever my goalie coach tells me is the starter that night, that's who I go with. But like I said, someone needs to be the adult in the room here and just tell Mikhail Burden, you can't have cookies for dinner anymore.
I did want to focus on a couple skaters. We mentioned Mikey Asimont last time, and we also mentioned Nick Sweeney, who is still the scoring leader for the Iowa Wild after this weekend. Sweeney, I'll talk about him first. He had a secondary assist both on Saturday and Sunday. He had 4 shots on goal Saturday and 1 shot on goal Sunday. So Nick Sweeney, 4 goals, 3 assists in 7 games. He is still the leading scorer ahead of Joseph Cramarosa, who rose up and now has 2 goals and 4 assists in 6 games. 6 games for 6 total points. So, Nick Sweeney and Joseph Cramarosa rising to the occasion and continuing their points for Iowa. But last but not least, for an individual basis, I did want to bring up a guy that we mentioned, Mikey Asimont, contributing a goal per game, great goals, great effort, great hustle. So with about 50 seconds left in the first period of the first game on the weekend on Saturday, it was a very odd play. I'm like, how in the hell did that happen? I had to go back and rewatch it 3 or 4 times. Asimont was at center ice. He was in the neutral zone and he blew a tire. It was really bizarre. He blew a tire. His legs kind of kicked out from underneath him and he hit the boards really hard. And I thought at first it might have been a knee injury, but upon further review, he got up and skated off on his own power, but he looked, absent. He did not look there mentally. And that makes me wonder if he suffered a concussion, because he did not come back in that game and he did not come back in the second game on Sunday as well. So Mikey Asimont is probably injured and on IR, or will be on IR for the foreseeable future. Just got his bell rung, probably had to go through concussion protocol and everything. But yeah, I mean, my opinion, Manitoba came out, win one for the Gipper, win one for Asimont. If he's hurt, they kind of pulled together and, like I said, went back and forth with Iowa, but that second game they fell flat and they couldn't produce offensively.
I mean, when your goaltender gives up 4 goals on 17 shots, you lose. That's pretty much how it goes. When you get that bad of goaltending play, that's it. That's my superb analysis. You give up 4 goals on 17 shots, you lose the game.
We're here for the deep analysis at the Calder Farmstead.
Yeah,
Sean's
I know.
Bringing the heat.
Yeah. Anyway, so CC, let's look forward here. Where do both of these teams go, both schedule-wise and in their spirit journey that is the season?
So Manitoba, coming up for them, they will start a 6-game road trip by playing a 3-3 versus Milwaukee on Friday, Chicago on Saturday, and Rockford on Sunday. So touring the Midwest there a little bit. And to have Chicago in the middle of that is always, that's always a blast, right? Yeah. And so, Milwaukee.
How many of those three do you think Mikhail Burden starts?
Oh God, all 3 of them. Yeah. I mean, you might see Holm in the middle and that may give him a chance, but
that is my honest hope, as you see Holm at Chicago on Saturday. If that's the case, I will pick them to win Saturday and Sunday.
Well, we're not making picks yet, so hold your horses.
I
know. Let's go over to Iowa. So they'll play a home and away weekend. They're going to host Grand Rapids and head on over to Milwaukee and visit them at the Panther Arena. Addison and Beckman are still up with Minnesota, so that may affect Iowa for the foreseeable future. And if Asimont is hurt, that takes a big chunk. Well, I said if Asimont is hurt, I confirm that he is hurt. He went off. He wasn't on Sunday's game. That is obviously going to affect Manitoba's early season production, especially heading into a 3-in-3 3 games in 3 days. Last but not least, Iowa making some moves. Alexander Kovanov, forward, getting the call up from ECHL Iowa, the Heartlanders, as does goaltender Trevin Kozlowski. So that's a curious thing as well. Makes you wonder, whenever a goalie lets up a lot of goals, and they may look a little bit off form. You wonder if they got a nagging injury they're worried about. But hey, bringing in another goaltender makes you scratch your chin a little bit and say, maybe they weren't so impressed with Andrew Hammond, or they have to put him up on IR for a little bit. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But regardless, Trevin Kozlowski going from ECHL Iowa to AHL Iowa. So we'll see how that plays out this weekend as well.
All right, we are going to take a break. After that, we will go to the Best Coast, West Coast. If you are just here for Iowa and or Manitoba, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, check us out on social media. Links to our social media, as well as links to all of our podcast catchers, as well as our YouTube channel, can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. We're going to pay some bills. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
Our last weekend recap heads to the Pacific Division. San Diego Gulls versus the Tucson Roadrunners. Friday night, 7 p.m. in Tucson. Saturday night, 7 p.m. in Tucson. Sean, you have the floor, my friend. Tell us about Friday evening first, and then follow it up with Saturday.
All right, I think I can do that. Let's talk goals here. Goals for the Gulls. Liam Kirk opens the scoring by finding soft ice in the slot on the power play on Friday as Prince and Trevor Carrick are caught puck watching and not defending passing lanes to the slots, leaving Liam Kirk wide open in the highest danger area on the ice. Matthias McKelly finds him on a pass from the corner, and Kirky buries it high glove, 1-0 Tucson. A turnover fit for the treehouse of horrible turnovers. Made by Michael Carconi at his defensive blue line, leaves to Jacob Perreault, finding O'Regan in the slot on a pass across Royal Road. Perreault whiffs on the shot release, but it finds its way to Penn State alum Alex Limoges, who is alone on the back door. And while Cordash makes him work for it, Limoges bangs it home to tie it at 1 midway through the first. The Gulls get back on the board with a de facto power play goal as Blake Spears got out of the box just a second or so prior, but Tucson didn't get its fifth skater into the play until it was well over. Started with a slap pass attempt by Greg Pattern that got somewhat broken up by Ryan McGregor, but the puck trickled to its intended target in Hunter Drew, who shoots it wide. Brandon Tracy recovers behind the net, puts it cross crease to Jack Badini, who gets enough of a shot away under pressure to beat Kozhinash, who didn't make it across the crease in time. The Gulls strike again with a proper power play goal. This time, Cody Curran fakes a pass to get Ryan McGregor to shift out of his shooting lane, then rips a shot that hits Limoges in the bumper spot. He recovers quickly and wrist run from the hash marks past Kozhinash, who couldn't react to the change of shot location in time, which is fair because that's really hard, and Limoges beats him high blocker side. The Gulls pile it on with a little over 11 minutes left in the third. Bryce Kindop recovers a turnover after Sam Carrick hit in his defensive zone and turns that into a controlled zone exit, then a controlled zone entry. He pulls up, works through contact, finds Jacob Larson, who flings one on the net where Kozhinash was heavily screened by Greg Prince and Sam Carrick. Carrick gets the tip as he's undefended at the net front. Gulls up 4-1. If 4 wasn't enough, Perreault strips Carconi behind the Tucson net, finds Mason McTavish, who fires a wrister right into the belly of Tucson's Vladislav Kolyachuk. Perreault finds the rebound off the block and puts it home to put the Gulls at 5-1. That was your final on Friday. Saturday, quite a different story. A stupid penalty early for the Gulls puts their league worst penalty kill to work, and Tucson feasted on it. Quality scoring chance off the Oshie play puts the puck behind the net where Ben Wings McCartney throws a pass all the way to the point for Giannis Moser. The Gulls' PK is collapsed around the net. They can't scramble to get in the shooting lane at time, leaving Moser with a shooting lane bigger than the Sabino Canyon. In the process of scrambling to get into Moser's shooting lane, the Gulls leave Hudson Fasching undefended at the top of the crease. He tips in Moser's shot 1-0. If you thought Hudson Fasching was done for the night, you were very much wrong, as roughly 4 minutes of game time later, Hudson Fasching, in one of the most impressive one-man efforts I have seen in quite some time, darts off the bench, single-handedly robs Greg Prince of the puck in the neutral zone, races down the ice, and fires an absolute missile over the blocker of Ole Eriksson-Ek for a 2-0 lead. Hudson Fasching continues to dominate this game as he creates his zone entry, makes a pass to Tyson Empey in the slot that gets broken up, but somehow Empey finds the loose puck, passes it to Cameron Hebig in the highest danger areas. He bangs it home, 3-0 Roadrunners. Off a broken-ish play in the zone, Gulls strike back as Morgan Adams-Moisson tips a point shot that Corjones stops, but he can't get to cover the rebound. Brandon Tracy pokes it to the point, where Gooley fires one from distance that beats Kojonash, and the Gulls get on the board in the first, still down by 2. Tucson looks to be on cruise control as cruise control to a win, made one big mistake against this Gulls team. They took penalties. The Gulls power play is dangerous, and it almost guarantees it's almost a guarantee 5-on-3. That's a hole the Roadrunners put themselves in with some dumb penalties, and Danny O'Regan, walks up from the face-off dot to the top of the circle, finds Mason McTavish for a pass across Royal Road. One times at home over the glove of Kojonash, 3-2 Roadrunners. San Diego doesn't stop there. The ensuing 5-on-4 power play after the Gulls' 5-on-3 goal gets to work as Perot walks down the half wall, catches Boko Amama too high in the zone to cover the Royal Road passing lane. He finds Danny O'Regan for a shot. It hits something in front and deflects past Kojonash to tie the game at 3. The Roadrunners break the tie after a rebound recovery by who else? Hudson Fasching. He circles behind the net, finds Wings McCartney in the slot, and he bangs it home over Eriksson X glove. Hudson Fasching completes the hat trick after Hudson Elianuk gets away with a boarding call to recover a dump in. He dishes it to Double J Jan Yenik, who drops it to Hudson Fasching in the slot, and he buries it high glove side 5-3 Tucson. The Gulls get a good break as Vladislav Provyonov has a routine pass in the neutral zone, just go right through him. Jack Bandini chips it ahead to Hunter Drew, who walks in and catches Kojonas napping with a wind-up slap shot high blocker to make it 5-4. Brendan Gooley chases down a dump in his own zone, makes a routine breakout pass to Jack Bandini, but Bandini botches the pass reception, and the puck kicks out to the top of the circle, where Jan Yenik scoops it up, skates through the slot, forcing Eriksson Ek to move left to right. Yenik risks one over Eriksson Ek's blocker from the bottom of the circle, and that's the game 6-4 on Saturday for Tucson. CC, how did we think these games would go?
Well, I have to say, Ben McCartney, I thought the major was a lady suffragette. That's all I'm going to say about Ben Wings McCartney over there. For those Paul McCartney fans out there. But I digress. Let's talk about our picks. I picked San Diego on Friday and Tucson on Saturday. Sean picked Tucson in the first game and San Diego finding their way and taking the second game, which I think that's what ended up happening, right? Yeah. Yeah, the series that we tend to do a deep dive on, Sean tended to do much better than I did. I have no rhyme or reason for that, but I guess we'll see if any patterns, long-term patterns emerge, that is. So the model said Tucson, 51.4% favorite in each game. Kind of a push at that point when you have 1.4% over 50%. But anyway, let's get into a little more detail, a little more team-oriented detail. Sean, let's talk about Friday. Let's start with Tucson and we'll segue into San Diego. How's that sound?
That sounds good. Tucson at the end of the first and start of the second are just getting killed by penalties on Friday, not able to build any momentum. Granted, the boarding call on Provyonov I thought was a bad call. Spears' delay of game and McCartney slashing were just dumb penalties to take, though, and really took the wind out of the sails for the Roadrunners, who needed to get offense going. Then they finally get a power play and get some offense going, but shoot themselves in the foot again with another penalty. The Gulls score, and it goes from being a 1-1 tie game to a 3-1 Gulls lead, just like that. And that is one surefire way to just shoot yourself in the foot, take bad penalties, put the league's best and very clearly most dangerous penalty kill up on a 5-on-3. Because it's not like the Gulls are just getting lucky on power plays. They're very, very good with the advantage. So the Gulls power play, they're looking for Royal Road passes. They work the puck around quickly and efficiently. They're breaking down Tucson's penalty kill structure, collapsing them down towards the crease, and then going to the top and around to create space for their power play. Tucson struggled with communication in the offensive zone. A few times I saw two forwards standing shoulder to shoulder. That's easy to defend, as now as I only have to block one passing lane if I'm the defender, and I'm covering two guys in doing so. Boko Amama did actually do what we talked about in the preview in, being physical, get in guys' face, see if you can get them to take penalties and take advantage of the fact that the Gulls have a terrible penalty kill right now. He got in Greg Pattern's face, drew a penalty from Greg Pattern doing some dumb stuff. Tucson gets the offensive going on the ensuing power play, but can't convert. But the momentum is something that they at least got going there. Tucson needs to set up Michael Carconi for one-timers on the power play, though. He should be their Charles Houdon from 2 years ago. Just have him sit at the circle and, stick pointed to the rafters and just find pucks to give to him. That's it. Tucson at least generated some scoring chances through stretch passes through the neutral zone. Although the Gulls are doing a good job of jamming up Roadrunners, are doing a good job of jamming up the Roadrunners in the neutral zone overall, they did manage to find a couple of good stretch passes. One of the big criticisms I had of Tucson too is they were not getting good forechecking pressure Friday at all. When they were getting shots on goal, they weren't getting rebounds. The Gulls were winning battles for rebounds at the net front and along the boards. They're not giving Tucson chances to extend offensive zone possessions on Friday. The Gulls were still being caught puck watching in the defensive zone and not scanning over their shoulders, looking for where Tucson's forwards were when they're behind them. This led to a bunch of scoring chances. It led to Liam Kirk's power play goal. Still, we talked about the Gulls simplifying in their defensive end, having a better execution, and we saw a lot of that even in both games. Like, even in the game that they got, they lost 6-4, I still thought they at least looked more cohesive as a team at times, but Saturday, we'll get there in a second. There's still a lot of work that needs to get done on the penalty kill, which is strange to me because they play basically the same penalty kill they did last year. Same basic structure that most teams run. 1-3 neutral zone forecheck in zone. CC, they play, say it with me, the check
press. Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Otherwise known as the wedge +1. But I will say this year, it feels like their runner, their +1 that's chasing the puck, feels a lot less aggressive and a lot more passive. He's not really getting a lot of pressure, depending on, it doesn't seem to matter who it is. Like when they're, flexing that guy out from the wedge to be the runner on the, right side, left side, top, bottom, it seems like they're very content with just like not getting out of position. They're not putting direct pressure on the puck carrier. And I didn't like that on the penalty kill. I feel like they should be more aggressive there because they need to be taking away time and space, because taking away time and space is the whole point of the check press. That's why you don't see that passive box strategy used in the penalty kill anymore, because when you have other players who are the best players in the team that are out on that power play and you're giving them time and space to beat you, they're going to. And that's why that passive box has really fallen out of favor for more aggressive tactics like the check press. Saturday, despite scoring 4 goals, the Gulls looked tired. They looked very much to be going through the motions for long stretches of Saturday's game. I would have thought Hunter Drew's goal to make it 5-4 at the end of the second would get the Gulls going. They'd come out hot in the third and, be ready to like get this game, home. And they just didn't. I really would have thought that would have been a back-breaking moment for Tucson. And nope, it wasn't. They really did not take advantage of that situation. They got Koshinash to give up 2 soft goals to even be in this game, as both Gooley and Drew beat him cleanly from distance on shots he really needed to stop. Tucson showed up Saturday, though. I don't know if it was an ass chewing by Jay Verity from Friday night where they got housed, or if Hunter Drew's headshot early on just sparked them. But Tucson was 100% the more motivated and just plain faster team. Overall, though, I'm at least hopeful if I'm on both sides here. San Diego cleaned up a lot of the details that had caused it so much pain early on, but just put on a clunker of a performance on Saturday. They looked like they didn't get their pregame meal or a nap before the game. Like they literally just looked like the physically more tired team. Tucson continues to do its Jekyll and Hyde routine. They looked sluggish and out of sorts on Friday, and then for whatever reason looked like they were, at quadruple ass on the meter instead of half ass on Saturday.
That's not good when you're 1/4 ass instead of half-assed effort.
Oh, no, quadruple ass.
Oh,
that's 4 asses instead of That was Tucson on Saturday. They dialed it up to quadruple ass.
Sorry,
You were told there would be no math.
I was told there would be no math. Boy. Anyway, yeah, that's the team effort. But as always, let's break it down a little more and let's talk about the individuals that stood out from both San Diego and Tucson this weekend. First, let's talk about Mason McTavish. He wasn't in our preseason preview, and I ask you, why?
Well, he's not even supposed to be here. This is a conditioning loan, and for those unfamiliar with the bylaws surrounding that, McTavish in the AHL under conditioning loan circumstances for a maximum of 14 days, according to Section 13.8 of the NHL's CBA. He still counts against Anaheim's cap and is getting paid his NHL salary. So team dinners are 100% on Mason McTavish for the next week. But yeah, he is a maximum of 14 days. I had to go into the actual CBA to find those. So I at least got a nice nap out of it, because if you read more than 3 paragraphs, you will fall asleep.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, Mason McTavish aside, let's talk about any other individuals that stood out this weekend. After you.
I mean, we can't not talk about Hudson Fasching, but we'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. But yeah, he obviously did. That was just a dominant performance by Hudson Fasching on Saturday. Like one I have not expected to see from him in particular. Just, I mean, I think of him as being a very good depth scorer, a pretty good all around player, but not being able to just turn it on like he's, a D1 college player jumping in summer leagues for men's beer league. Like he really just looked like he did not belong on that ice surface in the AHL, which is not how I'm used to taking in Hudson Fasching's game. And I wouldn't expect it to continue per se, but you can't talk about this weekend without talking about Hudson Fasching on Saturday. I thought Alex Limoges looked a lot better than in previous games. Even Saturday, he created scoring chances a few times, and I thought he played well despite the rest of the team kind of just
sleepwalking.
Yeah. Despite not getting on the score sheet, Buddy Robinson played very well and was probably the most alive player Saturday for the Gulls. His skating has really improved. I remember that being a weakness from him 2 preseasons ago and a little bit last preseason. He's a bigger dude, and bigger dudes will always struggle to generate speed, even though they generate power very well, because moving that giant frame is difficult. But his skating looked a lot improved. He looked faster. His edge work is still a little touch and go, but he's at least able to get up and down the ice a little more easily. Liam Kirk made a good impression. Although I still think he needs work on getting inside on rush chances. He seemed hesitant when in those situations on even man rushes and got pushed to the wall easily a few times. In zone, though, I still like him a lot. Defensively, I thought, put a good effort. Dostal was very good Friday. Tracked the puck well in difficult spots, made tough saves, didn't give up many rebounds, kicked rebounds to safe areas. He looked like the goaltender we thought he was going to be this entire season and has struggled to kind of find so far. But that kid's the truth. And while I think Eriksson Ek will be better going forward, as you can't just be giving up, slap shot goals, Wild West shootout style to guys. I still believe in this goaltending tandem, but Dostal looked amazing Friday night. And really, I mean, I wouldn't say he stole that game for the Gulls. When you score 5 goals, you're not really stealing the game, but like they could have scored. Obviously you win 2, you give up 1 goal, scoring 2 wins you the game, but like he didn't need goal support really that game. He really held it down in his own end. Very impressive.
Lastly, let's talk about what these two teams have to look forward to in the Pacific Division, both this week and this coming weekend.
Well, if you're Tucson, you have to at least be happier with Saturday's game, even though we're still doing Jekyll and Hyde things. The team looked really good, minus Koshinash, who looked bad. We said in the season preview, Hudson Fasching was a solid depth scorer in previous seasons, was going to be asked to do more, and then we immediately questioned whether or not he was up to that task. Well, for at least one game, that was a resounding yes, as he was basically a one-man show for Tucson on Saturday. Now, hopefully Tucson can keep that momentum going as they head to Henderson for a weekend series. Henderson has struggled to find their game with so many guys out of the lineup. They have a lot of guys who are depth scorers who are being asked to do more that, they're not prepared for that role. On the other side of the coin, well, for San Diego, while their effort level on Saturday was certainly frustrating, it was encouraging to see a lot of the defensive details that had been aggressively botched in their previous games not showing up by and large 5-on-5. Their penalty kill structure is sound, but I think new bodies need to get mixed in as there's a lot of puck watching, not a lot of scanning for secondary threats going on. So I think that penalty kill is still a work in progress, but I think it might be time to maybe find, some new blood for it. San Diego has Bakersfield, then Colorado at home this upcoming weekend. They're going to need all the PK work they can for those games, as the Eagles, last I saw, were third in the league on the power play. The Condors are ninth.
Yeah, going to have to step it up on special teams with those top 10 power play units for sure. All right, well.
I was going to say, take us to break, Cece. Go ahead.
You always do it. I figured I could jump in and take us to break. So, as Sean mentioned, we're going to take a break here. And after this break, we're going to get to the cream of the crop. Hold tight. Macho Man Randy Savage impression incoming. The best players of the weekend in the AHL. And, of course, the quiz. Sean has his first quiz of the weekend for yours truly. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm terrified I'm probably going to lose. But hey, if you're just here for San Diego and Tucson, we thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to us from so you get episodes in a timely fashion. You can also check us out on social media, of course. Links to our social media, as well as links to our YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Google podcasts can be found on our Linktree page at linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead. Once again, that's linktr.echo/the Calder Farmstead. I think it's time we pay some bills. Got to keep the lights on around here. So after these messages, we'll be right back. Oh, yeah, it's time for the Macho King to bring his royalty to the program. First time in 2021-22. Yeah, I beat Hacksaw Jim Duggan, rather. I almost said Huggin. Almost got a little intimate embrace here. Wow, freak out, man. But it's time. It's time for the cream of the crop. Whoa, yeah. Dig it. The Macho Man returneth.
All right. Yeah. My first cream of the crop for this weekend. Number one, Michael Marsh, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points on the weekend against Laval. Got some good fortune for him from goaltending, but you put points in, you're going to end up on this portion of our show. Michael Marsh is my first cream of the crop. Cece, who is first for you?
Well, let me tell you a little something. It's a little bit of a low-hanging fruit. We knew he was going to make a big impact with the Chicago Wolves, but let me tell you a little bit about Andrew Podorowski. Oh, yeah, Podorowski getting Player of the Week honors, Player of the Month honors. Yeah, goal and a secondary assist. 4-2 victory over the Milwaukee Admirals. Wow. On October 29th, hat trick, primary assist, secondary assist, a 5-point night. Whoa. Oh, I'm getting super hyped up. It's my first time this season. Man, he just showed out against Grand Rapids on Halloween. Ooh, it's scary. Ooh, scary. Hope they handed out a lot of Slim Jims. I tell you what, 6-3 victory. Andrew Podorowski, my first cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
My second is Jesper Frodin of the Providence Bruins. 2 goals, 2 assists, all primary points over the weekend. Just looked fantastic in the bits and pieces I saw him. He's someone we highlighted in our season preview as someone to keep an eye on. Jesper Frodin, 2 goals, 2 assists, all primary points. That is my second cream of the crop. Cece, who is your second?
I don't know who this CC guy is. I'm the Macho King Randy Savage, and I'm going to tell you Oscar Steen from the Providence Bruins. Yeah, Oscar Steen showing out in a 6-4 win against Bridgeport on Saturday. He had 2 goals, 1 primary assist, 1 secondary assist. That's a 4-point night. That's some madness. Can you feel it? Where's Miss Elizabeth? I gotta get my head on straight because Hulk Hogan's got lust in his eyes, brother. But Oscar Steen, he's my second cream of the crop. Ooh, yeah.
And my number one cream of the crop this week, my third one, is an obvious one. That's Hudson Fasching. 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points, all on Saturday in just a dominant display. We tweeted it out earlier this week. He, for Halloween, should have just gone as himself because people would have thought he was a ventriloquist after he dummied San Diego. That second goal of the game on Saturday where he hops off the bench, strips Prince, and just lasers one past OEE looked like something you'd see if you dropped him in a local beer league game. I actually stood up and was shook watching that goal live. Like, I needed to press pause. I was just like, did the Home Alone pose. I think I called my wife and was like, you need to come see this. Like, that never happens. Hudson Fasching, clearly the cream of the crop for me for the weekend. Cece, who is your number one guy?
Well, let me tell you a little something. You think the Colorado Eagles, they go into the weekend without a victory, and you think, boy, you sure would like to see Colorado get a victory. You sure would. You Kiefer Sherwood, brother. Oh, yeah. Kiefer Sherwood, 3 goals in 2 games, and he gets the monkey off the back of the Colorado Eagles. Talk about a game-winning goal in overtime. Yeah. Oh, they felt the madness against San Jose on Friday night. And Kiefer Sherwood getting Colorado that long sought-after victory. It was like getting the Intercontinental Championship against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at WrestleMania, brother. Oh, yeah, that's my cream of the crop. And nobody does it better, on balance or off balance. Doesn't matter, Mean Gene. You're looking at him. You're looking at the cream of the crop, and I'm on my way. Wow, freak out. Wow, yeah.
And that is cream of the crop returning with a vengeance. And again, as I said last episode, ain't no thing for me to do that impression, but you get me to do a pirate impression, and that really messes up my voice.
All right. Well, that leaves us for quiz time.
Hey.
And
I'm
while
ready.
I had prepared this for last week, you were still battling the scurvy,
Correct.
but it's still somewhat relevant here. After launching Audie into a space rocket, Naughty has taken over as the Utica Comets mascot. So I
Okay.
thought we'd test your knowledge about other AHL mascots around the league.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I am not ready, but go ahead.
Well, we're going to start off with what I hope will be at least a more familiar one to you. I have 7 questions here. You need 4 of them correct. I do not have a tiebreaker because, well, odd number.
Yeah.
So, is the Colorado Eagles mascot named, because it's obviously an eagle, is it A, Freedom, B, Slapshot, C, Power Play, or D, Rocky?
That would be B, Slapshot. Final answer.
Off to a good start. Cece, you are 1 for 1.
I would
see how
be
some of the rest-
ostracized. I would be ostracized in this market if I didn't get that right.
I mean, you know.
It
All
would be
right.
bad. It would be very bad.
Second question. Is the Texas Stars mascot an armadillo named Calder, a neon green bear named Tex, a ring-tailed cat named Ringo, or a tiger named Victory?
C, a ring-tailed cat named Ringo. Final answer.
Ooh, Cece, you are 2 for 2 here. All right. Number 3, is the Toronto Marlies mascot A, the same as the Maple Leafs mascot, a polar bear named Carlton, B, a hound named Duke, C, a moose named Marley, or D, they don't have a mascot?
I'm going to say the same as Toronto. A, Carlton. Final answer.
I'm sorry, that is not correct. It is a hound named Duke.
That was my gut feeling, and I should have gone with it. My mistake.
All right. Question number 4. Is the Henderson Silver Knights mascot named A, Gamble, B, Chance, C, Chip, or D, Lucky?
B, Chance. Final answer.
Oh, you're thinking of the Vegas Golden Knights mascot. The Henderson Silver Knights mascot is D, Lucky.
Lucky. Yep. Fudge.
All right. Number 5 is the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins mascot. A penguin named Tux. B, 2 penguins named WB and Scranny. 3, a penguin named Dwight after the character on The Office. Or D, an anthropomorphic miner named Palooka after Joe Palooka Mountain, which is a local landmark.
I'm going to say A, Tux. Final answer.
That is correct. Cece, you got 3. You need one of the last 2 here to pull a W.
WB and Scranny and Dwight were pretty creative on your end. I'm not going to lie.
Joe Palooka Mountain, also a local landmark in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton.
That was good. That was also a good pull.
Number 6 is the Milwaukee Admirals mascot. A, an anthropomorphic admiral named Starbird. B, an anthropomorphic skeleton named Bones. C, an orange dog-like animal named Roscoe. Or D, a blue bear-like animal named Sails.
It is very hard to forget Milwaukee's mascot. It is C, an orange-like dog mascot named Roscoe.
Congratulations, Cece. You have passed the mascot mania.
Can I take the 7th just for kicks and giggles?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Is the Springfield Thunderbirds mascot named A, Thunder, B, Boomer, C, Soar, or D, Blast? It is obviously a bird.
It's actually E, Scott Howson is the name of the bird. No. No, I'm going to say B, Boomer.
Boomer is correct.
Hey.
CC. 5 for 7 there.
Not too shabby. I did surprisingly well. I was second guessing myself, and obviously maybe got the NHL mascots a little bit too confused.
I'll be completely honest. I really thought I was going to get this one. All right, Cece. As per the completely made up rules of our quiz here, you have 30 untimed seconds. What is on your mind? What would you like to just shoot into this the void?
Into the void. Well, being a Denver Broncos fan, of course, the biggest news coming out of the Mile High City here was the trade of Von Miller to the Los Angeles Rams. And after a 10-year career with the Denver Broncos, Von Miller is going to be donning a different jersey. Denver getting back a 2nd and 3rd round pick. Not a bad haul for Von Miller, but it really points to the dysfunction of the franchise, unfortunately. Vic Fangio, Pat Shurmur, the offensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, of course, the head coach, just need a changing of the guard. It's looking disorganized. The offense is looking uninspired. It's just the Von Miller trade is kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, in my opinion, and a white flag, as it were, for the Denver Broncos franchise in order to start rebuilding and to officially say, we're not one piece away from a Super Bowl contender. They're many pieces away from it, and getting more assets back for Von Miller, I think, was the best thing that they could do at this point in his career. Unfortunately, it's a bummer, but Godspeed to Von Miller. Hope he wins a Super Bowl with the Rams this year.
All right. Cece, would you like to start the outro here?
Yes, for episode number 58, that is all for the show. Thank you for watching and or listening. The Calder Farmstead is part of the Full Press Radio Network. You can listen to this and a number of other great hockey, sports, and wrestling programs, sports entertainment, wrestling, whatever you prefer to call it, at www.fullpresscoverage.com. Just click on the podcast drop-down menu in the top right portion of the website. You click it and just brrr. That's the sound of population, by the way. And then you can enjoy whichever show you choose. And of course, with that in mind, we are grateful that you choose to spend your time with us on our show.
If you guys are enjoying our show, The Calder Farmstead, please make sure you subscribe so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the podcast. Or if you're watching on YouTube, like the video and comment what you thought of the episode. Doing so helps others find the show, and your reviews help us improve it. If you can also follow the show on social media at Calder Farmstead on Twitter and at The Calder Farmstead on Instagram and Facebook. Links to all that and more can be found on our Linktree page, which is scrolling down below here. But for those in the audio portion is linktr.ee/The Calder Farmstead. Big thanks to Adrian Drake, who made our theme music. You can find him on social media at AD_dysfunction. That's AD_DYSFUNCTION. So we can make music for you too. Cece, where can people find you?
Well, I'm CC Hockley, and you can find me representing Full Press Hockey on Twitter at FPC_AHL. And you can also find me retweeting from that account a bunch of the other great writers for Full Press AHL and the staff members there. You can find me at my personal account, my personal Twitter account at SEESEEHAWK. That's CC Hawk spelled out. Majority of my tweets are about hockey, but hey, I've got opinions about music. I've got opinions about other sports, about pro wrestling. Give me a follow. Hopefully, if it interests me, it's not going to be bullshit for you. So you can check out my writing on the Full Press Coverage Network at www.fullpresshockey.com. Hell, even Sean read my most recent piece and was like, this is impressive analysis, CC. Imagine that. If I got Sean's stamp of approval, that's not too shabby. So with that in mind, Shawnee, where can people find you?
I'm Sean O'Brien. You can find me on Twitter at Sean O'Brien81. That's SeanObrien 81. I'm also on Instagram at Sean O'Brien_81. Mostly pictures of my dog. My tweets are, mostly hockey, but other things here and there. Sometime between Tuesday and Wednesday, you can count on me to post nerdy graphs about things about the AHL. You can find all of the stats work that goes into those nerdy graphs at my Tableau page at bit.ly/data-dump-and-chase, all lowercase, all one word. CC, take us home.
Once again, that is it for episode number 58 of the Calder Farmstead podcast. For Sean O'Brien, I'm CC Hockley, and I've got a little bit of heartburn from some red chili I had tonight, so I need to go take some Tums and go lay down, and, well, I've got to edit this episode first. But as always, we thank you for tuning into the show. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And as always, keep your stick on the ice.